Hey guys, today we're talking about Andy Brayshaw, the 615k mid from Fremantle. Hope you enjoy. If all your brothers played football, would you play football as well?
That's a good question, actually. I haven't thought about it. And I only have one brother, and I'm better than him in every single sport under the sun. So I might say yes, simply because I'd like to be in a team with these guys. And if not, then the next best thing would be to kick their ass. So
That's true.
Yeah. I'd say yes, definitely. What about you?
I think so. I mean, the Brayshaws have kind of done it. Every Brayshaw, I think, had a run at football. Two currently play. I don't think Hamish plays anymore. Maybe Waffle, that kind of thing. But yeah, really, really big football family they've got going
on. They should be up there, of course. In terms of the prodigious names of the football families, like the Riolis, the Silvanis, the Danahers, and stuff like. These guys should well and truly be up there as well, I think, in terms of just what a great story, honestly, to have a family like that, just so involved with the game. I don't know. You can't help but feel good about this story.
Yeah, maybe a few more premierships to the family, and then people will start feeling about them the same way.
Fair enough, yeah, but I don't think it's going to happen. So, yeah, it is what it is. Then they're not touching the Riolis, they're not touching the Danahers or the Watsons. So, look, it is what it is. And you never know, man. They might not be touching the Harveys either. From reports of how the old man's kid's doing.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well. All right.
Well, let's get here to talk about them. We're here talking about Andy Brayshaw, who finished 10th overall for the mids in 2022. So he managed to crack the top 10 last year, which was very good. And that's off the back of 5 years of direct improvement. And that improvement all stems from the CBAs. He had 40% in 2020, up to 61% in 2021, and then 76% in 2022. So did we see a lot of monster scores out of him this year, Big J?
Yeah, definitely. One of those players that was taken in the 2017 Super Draft, obviously very early in that draft. I think he was pick 2, and just came out of nowhere. Really, I don't think Freo, at least in Victoria, was really relevant. During the late 2010s. It's 2010s, right? Late 2010s, heading into the 2020s. Freo wasn't really relevant until Andy Brayshaw came onto the scene and forced people to watch their games for Supercoach, forced people to watch their games because their teams were playing against him. Yeah, kind of came on the scene and changed things for them. Really, really good player.
He's well and truly been developing into. He's just a leader who runs both ways. So his scoring is just off the back of work rate, presenting and tackling. He did have 8 monster scores over the 120 this year, and then he also had 5 scores between 100 and 120. So that's 13 games this year. Leaves 9 games where he didn't score over 100, but to be fair, 6 of them were in the 90s. So it's been had a very consistent year to date. Only a couple of down games for him. No one is immune to a down game. He's no exception. He had a couple of games where he scored in the 70s. One was against Geelong, where he had the 28 disposals. So he still racked up the ball, but he had 9 clangers and 5 threes against. So those definitely really dented his score, and that could have been a lot higher otherwise. And then against Richmond, where he had 28 disposals. Again, 28 disposals, but he had 21 handballs. Only 7 of them were kicks, and he had 7 clangers. So again, he definitely has no issue finding the football. That's something that I think should really reassure a lot of people out there.
Yeah, he's definitely got that feeling where, hey, I'm probably the best player on the Freo team now. Fife's kind of slowed down a little bit. Obviously, Mundy's slowed down quite a lot too. So you kind of get this mentality where I've really got to try and keep my team in the game, push as hard as I can, and try and take over, like the really good players do. But that also leads to a lot of clangers. So you'll have high disposal games, but you maybe not as influential as other players on the field. Yeah, it kind of just feels like that's the way he's going. He's taken over that midfield now. It's his. Everyone else is supporting him. Yeah.
I mean, they brought in Will Brodie last year, and he was obviously one of the picks of the season. One of the moves really went across for some steak knives, really. And he absolutely was sensational for them in the midfield. And you see the thing, he won these clearances, and Brayshaw, he's more of an outside type of player. Brayshaw, about 68% of his disposals are uncontested. So he likes to play that outside game. And because he's more of an outside type of player, he can be tagged on occasion. And it's been actually quite effective in limiting his scoring output. So, last year he was tagged by GWS twice and West Coast twice. Now, West Coast, they're an absolute joke last year. And what they were trying to do was just trying to stem the bleeding as much as they could. But they were just so crap. Nothing they could do worked. So the real relevant, I guess, was GWS, who was tagged twice. And he finished on a 95 and 105. Now, by that 95, you got to take that with a grain of salt, because the tag was released at halftime. To halftime, he was on 39 points. So a tag can be really powerful on Brayshaw, as we've seen in the past. It was the case as well in 2021, where when you get tagged, it really limited scoring. It was tagged by Brisbane, dropped to 70, tagged by Hawthorn, dropped to 48. So he's someone that's probably something they have to be most wary about. And now that they added O'Meara to the team, who's also going to be in and under helping Brodie get some more clearances, it just means that Brayshaw is going to probably be even more outside of a receiver. And I think that just makes him the prime tagging target. It's probably one of the big issues, I think, with his selection. But there's definitely a lot of upsides to him, aren't there?
Yeah, definitely. Feels like, if you're versing Freo at least, you can't really tag Fife. So Brayshaw's the target there. But as he's shown last year and previously, he can break out of the tag and do really well. He's got a monster ceiling, someone who, if he is let alone, will either set up goals, a little bit like an LDU, will set up goals or be that kind of power forward, power midfielder that will go out and kick goals, right?
Yeah, correct. And the thing is, you'd expect with a more powerful, dynamic midfield coming in now for Fremantle coming in this year, there's less responsibility almost. Like there's less reliance on a Brayshaw to really carry them over the line and get them to get wins, because they've now also added, Meek there was nothing wrong with Meek, don't get me wrong, but you'd expect Luke Jackson to be an upgrade in the ruck department there. He's going to bring some mobility at ground level to also be of support. O'Meara, great at ground level. You're going to have some development and progression. Again, Brodie, a second year in the system. O'Meara, a gun. Sarong, a gun. Aish, a gun. Reports, Switkowski, also now Switter, moving up into the midfield as well, just offering something different. You can just feel that this overall team at Fremantle is becoming really strong, to the point where is it going to be really worth it, like tagging a Brayshaw, sacrificing your own midfield because the rest of the guys can well and truly, get off the chain. So it could actually be that sharing the love at Fremantle could actually do wonders for a Brayshaw, and maybe even limit the number of tags that he'll cop this year.
Yeah, definitely makes him a better player. Gives him some more options as well to distribute the ball around. As you say, the more targets the players have got people to tag, the less times they actually do get tagged, because the cost benefit there of taking out the opposition's best player versus taking out one of their best 3 or 4 is a lot better.
Correct. And Fife is not. Yes, Fife has been training 100% with the forward line. We've heard the reports. Don't get us wrong, but that doesn't mean that he's not gonna have no midfield minutes. Just to imagine that this guy is gonna, a guy of Nat Fife's caliber, is gonna be parked in the forward 50 for 100% of the game is ludicrous. It's just not the case. He is going to pinch hit in the midfield as well. So you're gonna, opposition hands are gonna be really full. I don't think they can afford to sacrifice a player just to nullify or try to nullify Brayshaw, who will run and run and run, and he will get his points in a number of different avenues. The guy is a selfless player. He will tackle people like no one's business, even when he's gassed. He's an inspirational player. Good luck, I think, stopping him. Do you Are you going to be starting him this year, Big J?
I know he's got a pretty easy run of opponents. I think North and West Coast and a couple of other teams are in there. Historically, he scored very, very well against them. Unfortunately, at the moment, he's not in my side, but kind of depending on injuries, that kind of thing, he could be. I think historically, he has been one of those players, we've talked about it before with Petrarca, and we'll talk about it with some other players too, more available between rounds 6 to 10, or even just after the buys when they have like a bit of a price drop. You know, they'll get tagged or they have a stinker game, inflated price goes down quite a lot. That's when I'll look to pick him up. So at the moment, it's a no for me. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I know I did in my previous video, in my first video where I showed my team, that he was in my team, but I just think he's out of my team for now, but he's still someone that I'm keeping my eye on for sure. And like you, might be someone that I trade in when he drops in a bit of price, if he was to, for example, because they've lost Rory Lobb and he was their key target forward. So yeah, he might get more kicks inside 50, but a lot of them, you know, some of them could well and truly turn into intercept marks or turnovers, you know. So because they don't have that big tall forward. Who knows if John Amos comes on faster, you know, in his second year and really starts clunking marks, you know. So look, personally for me, he's a watch and see still. I could start him, but personally, I think that there are other safer options that are less taggable. But he's one that I'd be looking forward to trading into my team later on in the year, because I do think he's a top 10 caliber midfielder. And you only want players in your midfield that are, you know, top 10 caliber. So do you reckon he's a top 10 caliber guy?
He was last year. I think he's only going to get better this year. So second half of the season, look to bring him in. Otherwise, I think you're going to hurt a little bit.
Fair enough. I like it. So thanks, guys, for watching. That was our player profile on, you know, Andy Brayshaw, or Sprayshaw, as he is affectionately known as. Please like, share, subscribe. We've got a lot more of these player profiles coming up. So you don't want to miss any of these. And please also subscribe and get involved with our group, where we've got some incredible prizes that can be won, namely, especially the #1 prize of a jersey. So you got to get in there. We've got over 100 entrants already in there, don't we, Big J? So we're getting more and more people in there.
Yeah, definitely. More and more people getting involved every day. So pretty happy about that.
Absolutely. Any final words?
No, guys, just kind of have fun with Supercoach this year. We're pumping out more content. We'll see some more stuff over the next few days. So stay tuned.